So, my name's George Kriker. I was born in Brazil, but I went to school in Canada. I was actually thinking of keeping that a secret given the recent Olympic activities. I didn't think that the Swedes would appreciate knowing that I'm from Canada recently. But yeah, so I'm not Fredrik Holm. Fredrik Holm was originally supposed to give this talk, but I do work on Fredrik's team. So again, my name is George Kriker. I'm a program manager working at Microsoft, and I work on Fast IX. So Fast IX is a team that's currently driving and developing all the work we're doing on top of Codename Oslo. And if you have no idea what Codename Oslo is, don't worry, I got you covered, and I'll tell you what it is. Feel free to reach out to me using the email you see on the slide. If you have feedback, if you're shy and don't want to ask questions here in the big room, or just any comments, I'm quite responsive over email, and I'll try and get to you as quickly as I can. Cool. So, yeah, why don't we begin? So, Stefan did even though it was in Swedish and I didn't get much of it, but from his slides, he seems to have done a great job in setting the context for you guys. But I thought I'd give you at least our perspective, from FAST and from the people working directly in Oslo. I'll give you our perspective on why we think what we're doing matters. So why even bother talking about the office graph at all? Well, it turns out that it all starts off with our new friends from Yammer. So our friends from Yammer actually figured out a very interesting line of thinking. They figured out that work has fundamentally changed in this last few decades, especially in these last few decades. And right now, it's changing faster than ever. Work is no longer that highly mechanical, routine, rigid, local kind of work. It's become something that's sort of highly collaborative with a lot of human interaction, something that's very analytical, where the success of a business starts with your information worker, where the information workers collectively drive a business to success through selling, through innovation, through learning. And so why is that a problem for the big enterprise, or why is that a problem for big companies? Well, it actually turns out that companies were not built for change. And I think Stefan sort of talked about this, but let me sort of paint the picture of what's going on here. So now the big company finds itself in this highly connected world, and where loads of information is being generated at an incredible rate, information that can impact the business. Valuable business data that could be used to drive the right decisions or to drive the right discussions is either lost in a sea of enterprise content, or never arrives at the right pairs of eyes and hands that can do something about that information. Why? Because the communication channels between the different units of a business, or the communication channels between the business and its partners, stakeholders, and suppliers, or the communication channel between the business and its external environment, are all inefficient and ineffective. What's really happening, though, is that companies are really struggling to keep up with the pace of change. So as we have all this information sprouting from within the company, from outside the company, companies are really struggling to keep up with this pace of change. So let me give you an example, actually, of a Microsoft example about how we sort of had to deal with change recently, and how it's been hard for us. So recently, Microsoft has changed the way it ships software. So we used to be on this sort of 3-year release cycle, where we used to plan what we wanted to build for a year, build it for 2 years, release it to the customer. Plan the next thing we wanted to build for a year, build it, and release it to customers. What we're now doing is we're sort of continuously shipping software and doing so in small increments. And it's been hard. It's been a difficult cultural change for us, because now we have to start thinking about questions such as, is what we have good enough for customers? Is it big enough to be able to share it with the world? Has it been tested enough? So it's all these questions that we didn't have to think about. And as this big, massive organization, we're on our way. We're almost there. But it's been a long process. Everyone has had to be involved, and it's been difficult to change. So what are a few symptoms of a big enterprise not being able to keep up with the pace of change? Well, for starters, people don't know who knows what. I'll give you an example of how I struggle with that personally in my day-to-day life. So I've actually only been working for Microsoft for under a year. And so I often have questions and I don't know who to ask that question to. I'm sure you guys might relate to this. In a big company, you have this question, for example, what kind of web traffic drives down the health of a SharePoint farm? And I have no idea who to ask this question to. So what I usually do is I usually send out an email to people that I think are helpful or well-connected and who might know the answer. So I usually actually start off with my manager and a colleague, for example. My manager, my colleague, will then include a bunch of people in this email thread who might know the answer to the question. Those folks probably won't know the answer to that question yet, so include other people within the email thread, which will include other people within the email thread, which will include other people within the email thread. Eventually, we find the right person that knows the answer to that question. But by then, time has been wasted, energy has been wasted, and so many people that didn't have to be involved got involved. So yeah, people don't know who knows what. Departments can't keep track of each other's progress. Partners, suppliers, stakeholders are all uninformed. Learning from customers is also not fast enough, and I also experienced this within my first year at Microsoft, and I'll tell you how I sort of experienced this. About 8 months back, I was actually planning the search feature in Codename Oslo. I actually drive the search feature in Codename Oslo. And I actually got my hands on some customer data, I think from our sales and marketing team. I'm not really sure, but I got my hands on some data on how customers search for different topics within the enterprise, what kind of topics they searched for within the enterprise. And it was very useful because it helped me design my feature. It helped me understand what kind of things people looked up. And so I used that data to build my feature. 8 months later, or just a few months back, I actually had a meeting with the Outlook search PM, the person who drives Outlook search. And we were just chatting, and I brought up this data that we had, and the data that we had used to sort of, that we had gotten from customers by interviewing customers, and I told him about the data that we had. And then he told me that he had data on how much effort people are willing to put in their search queries, how many words, how many characters they're willing to type when they perform a search. Information that would have been valuable to me when I was designing my feature. So you see, it's kind of funny because, the customer knowledge was there within the company, but it was sort of spread across these different teams, and I had this knowledge, he had this knowledge, we both could have shared it, but we weren't using the information we had about our customers for collective good. So learning from customers is not fast enough. Your average information worker feels the pain too. There's information overload, which makes it hard to stay on top of things. As I sort of already mentioned, a team, a faraway team at Microsoft might be working on something similar that I'm working on the exact same thing, and I don't know about it. Finding the right content when I need it is difficult and time-consuming. I mean, you guys must feel this pain as well. When I have to find a particular document that I'm looking for, I have to go look through my inbox. I have to look through Yammer. I have to look through my OneDrive folders. I have to look at different SharePoint team sites until I find what I'm looking for. Because my content is scattered all over Office 365, and I can't really remember where something was saved, where other people saved what I'm looking for. So hopefully you guys feel a few of those pains yourself. Also, connecting with the right experts from different teams is challenging, which means that we're really, really limiting the amount of sharing of expertise that happens within a big company. All right, so as we continue to invent technologies that allow us to create and share information instantly, this pace of change will continue to go up. And sadly, company performance will continue to decline. So right now, you guys are probably wondering, all right, so companies are struggling to keep up with the pace of change. I get it, but why the hell is this happening? What's going on? Well, it turns out that while the way we relate and communicate in work has changed tremendously to sort of look more like this complex web of network you see on your left, this complex web of relationships you see on your left, enterprise tools that allow you to do information retrieval and discovery don't leverage these connections, don't leverage these relationships. And it's kind of funny and interesting because you look at the consumer world and it's sort of already there, right? I mean, I go to my Facebook account, and I get personalized content for me based on the people that I care about. I get less information about the people that I have less of an interest with and that I engage with less, and more information about the people that are really, truly close to me. I go to Google or Bing, and I type Oslo, and I get less information on the city itself, but more information on Köln Oslo, because Google knows the kinds of links I've visited recently, knows that I have a vested interest in that kind of topic. But enterprise tools haven't really caught up yet. But there's another point that's fundamentally important that I'd like you guys to take away from today. And it's a problem with the mentality that we often have within the workplace. The way we share and communicate information still sort of reflects the old, rigid, hierarchical way of organizing a business, like you see on your right. So what ends up happening is that we end up siloing off content. And how do we do that? Well, when we share information, we share to only a few select people over email. Or we hog onto information by storing things on our desktop. That's why I want to propose, and Stefan sort of mentioned this, but I'd like to reinforce that I'd like to propose that we move towards a responsive organization, a lean company that learns and responds rapidly through open communication, experimentation, and working as a network. I'd really like you guys to push that we start sharing things public by default. Always. That folder you guys have in OneDrive that says shared with everyone? Let's try and keep things that are secret to a minimum, because at the end of the day, there are very few things that need to be kept a secret. And so, yes, let's push to share more public by default so that intelligent tools like the Office Graph can help companies keep up with the pace of change. So I'm sorry if you guys heard a lot of this from Stefan before. I sort of just wanted to reinforce the context and the problem we're trying to solve and why all this matters. All right. So what exactly is the Office Graph? Well, we sort of touched on this already, but Kat, our young and vibrant information worker, consumes and produces a wide variety of content. When she goes to work, she collaborates and interacts and relates to a bunch of different people. And she does so through conversations that can happen anywhere, over Link, over Yammer, over Outlook. And the enterprise tools that allow you for information discovery and information retrieval today treat these things as unconnected, treat these things as siloed off. So what's really smart about the Office Graph is that it understands how all these entities connect. So it understands that a particular presentation was presented to Kat in a meeting that she was with 10 other people, and it understands that those 10 other people saw that document as well. It understands the different content that Kat viewed, and understands the content that she modified, so it knows what topics she's interested in. But what's also really cool and really magical about the Office Graph is that it understands what people Kat cares about. So it understands the people from those that are organizationally linked with her, such as her manager, such as her colleagues, such as her peers, direct reports, but also understands what people she cares about when it comes to those people that come from these implicit groups that we work with every day. What do I mean by these implicit groups? I mean, today I might be working with a few teams in Redmond because I'm working on a particular project. In about a month from now, my project might have changed, and so the set of people that I'm working with have changed because of that. I'm working with a completely different team. The Office Graph is keeping track of all of that, and it's understanding how all these entities, how all these components sort of interconnect. But what's really magical about the Office Graph is that it understands how Kat's complex web of relationships connects with my complex web of relationships, and how our complex web of relationships connects with the rest of the enterprise. So the Office Graph really is this intelligent data layer, this intelligent social fabric that learns and becomes smart via things that we call gestures. And so what exactly are these gestures? Well, there are two kinds of gestures that the Office Graph actually uses to learn. The first one is the implicit gestures, and I find those the most important ones. These are the kind of things that you do every day in your workplace, and you don't even realize it. So when you actually write out a report, or send out an email, or go to a meeting, or have a conversation with someone about a particular topic, you guys must do this every day in your workplace. And the Office Graph learns from all of this. You don't have to change your behavior. You don't have to tell it anything. It's just smart out of the box. But it can also learn from explicit gestures coming from Microsoft native experiences or third-party applications. So we often get a lot of questions about privacy, right? Because we're all sort of concerned that we're moving towards this sort of big brother world. And so I just wanted to sort of leave it out there that the Office Graph is smart enough to understand and be sensitive about your privacy, and it does so in two main ways. The first way is by preserving and maintaining every share setting or every privacy setting from any application that hooks onto the Office Graph. So for example, if I share a particular document in SharePoint, it knows to not touch that ACL settings. If you guys know what that is, it's sort of the SharePoint permission settings. It knows to preserve the ACL settings and to not let any other people that don't have access to that document already to leverage that information. When I send an email to a select few people, the Office Graph knows to only leverage that information to the people that were involved in that conversation. But it also understands privacy in a different way. It's very intelligent about being able to distinguish between private and public signals. So, I don't want people to know about the documents that I've viewed or the content that I've viewed recently. But I'm totally okay with the Office Graph taking the knowledge and information and data that I've sort of, happened to have put in a conversation in a public group in Yammer, because it's in a public group, because it should be leveraged by the entire enterprise for the collective good. Or to be able to leverage that document that I put in a cloud space that was available to everyone, like my shared with everyone folder. So the Office Graph is making sure that people don't see anything that they weren't already being able to see with their enterprise search center. So it understands and is sensitive to your privacy. All right, so let's talk about signals, because signals really are what makes the Office Graph intelligent. It really is what allows the Office Graph to learn. And signals can come from any application, from your Office 365 workloads, from anywhere really. And so in order to explain signals, let me give you an example of how signals sort of work. So say I'm in a meeting and I'm about to present a presentation to 10 other people. And so I'm sitting in the meeting, and then I press that present button, just similar to what I just did maybe 25 minutes ago, or 20 minutes ago. I press the present button, and what happens is a signal from my PowerPoint desktop client is sent to the Office Graph, to this backend. The Office Graph is intelligent enough to sort of pick up this signal and look and say, hey, awesome, George Kriker is presenting presentation X. So what the Office Graph then does is it looks at my calendar. It knows that I have a meeting right now. It looks at the people that have accepted that meeting and connects the dots and understands that the people who are in that room have seen this presentation and might want to reference it in the future. Here's another way of how the Office Graph is smart. It understands the people that I care about through the conversations I have with them. So the more I email someone, the more I have a conversation with someone, the more I talk to someone on Link, the more the Office Graph understands that we have a strong working relationship. The less we talk, the more our sort of relationship, our workplace relationship fades away, the more the Office Graph knows that maybe that person is someone that sort of I'm not using that much anymore. But the Office Graph could also predict what kind of information I need in the future. Maybe it sometimes looks at sort of the search topics that people around me are searching for in order to predict what I'm going to need in the future. But signals can also be other wide variety of things, like opening or saving a document, sharing something on SharePoint, following a document on SharePoint, or doing social gestures like commenting or liking a particular document. So just to give you guys a big picture of what's going on here, a bunch of applications like your Office 365 workloads, your Outlook, SharePoint, Yammer, your on-premise workloads like SharePoint, like your line of business solutions, like your CRM platform, and external workloads like Bing are all sending raw, crude data to the Office graph through a very simple to use signal and content push API. That raw, big data is the Office graph is taking that data, understanding it, making meaning of it through machine learning and outputting business intelligence. Business intelligence that your native experiences, like again, Outlook, SharePoint, Yammer, Coding Oslo, or the applications that your customers or you will build. And it's allowing them to extract this information in the form of business intelligence through another simple to use graph query language API. All right, so I mentioned a few times the two words codename Oslo, so I thought I'd start talking about it right now. So let's learn about what codename Oslo is. So you guys might actually have seen a bunch of buzz and conversation around codename Oslo that happened around SPC. Some folks called it the biggest idea ever since the beginning of SharePoint. Others commented on how it was revolutionizing or transforming the SharePoint user experience. Big brand names in the news sector like TechCrunch, Engadget, CNN, Businessweek were all mentioning how Oslo is fresh, revolutionary, and changing the way we find information. Actually, I wanted to get a show of hands if you guys read any of these conversations or actually saw any of these articles online. All right, cool. So quite a few of you. For those of you that actually missed out on all the buzz, don't worry. Again, I got you covered, and I'll tell you what all the hype is all about. So, codename Oslo is the first experience built on top of the Office graph, and the first experience to leverage its full potential. And what it's trying to do is, it's trying to deliver on three fundamental pillars. The first one is, it's allowing you to stay in the know. So it's helping you keep track of what your network is working on, what the people you care about is working on. It also wants to allow you to find what you need when you need it. So no more do you have to dig, across all your different Office 365 workloads. No more do you have to look for that file in your inbox, and then in your OneDrive folders, and then in SharePoint team sites, only to find that it was on Yammer. But it also wants to allow you to discover new connections, so that you can know who's going to be that person that's going to answer your next question. Or who's going to be that person that's going to help you get your work done? So codename Oslo actually comes in three different flavors. We have a beautiful web application, we have a stunning Windows 8.1 app, and we're working very hard on building an amazing mobile experience. But rather than talking to you guys about codename Oslo, I actually thought I'd share a little magic and show you guys a little bit of codename Oslo. So actually run through a demo. So let's go see how codename Oslo looks like on the web. Oh. Sorry about that. All right, so this is codename Oslo. So codename Oslo on the web is a workload within Office 365. And so when you open codename Oslo, the first thing you'll see is on the left, navigational tools and sort of the people that you care about the most, or the people the Office graph thinks that you're most interested in right now. And on the right, you see what we call your home feed or your Oslo feed. So what exactly is this home feed or Oslo feed? Well, it's a select group of documents that the Office graph thinks is the most important documents for you right now or in the near future. It's sort of the documents that you should look at right now. It's the documents that are trending around you or trending around your organization. So, if you sort of, so what Oslo really is doing is it's picking out the important documents that are within that sea of enterprise content that we talked about and putting it all in one place. It's sort of getting rid of all the noise. So, if you look at my feed, and I hope I don't disclose anything that I shouldn't, but if you look at my feed, you can see that we've made some progress on sort of, connecting Oslo with OneDrive for Business, and that's sort of probably a document that I should check out because I'd like to know what progress we made in that area. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. Touchscreens. You'll also see, or the work we're doing to be able to get data into blog posts easily. Going down my feed, you'll sort of see some other cool things. What else should I sort of probably take a look at during a break? Yes, some of the latest work we've done, some of the latest thinking we're doing on Android, or our T-Narrow experience, as we like to call it, which is simply our sort of mobile experience that we're working on right now. And so there seems to have been a few changes to those particular documents, and I'll probably check it out while I'm on this break, while I'm in the break after my session. So you probably have realized by now that we've sort of chosen this beautiful card form factor to represent content within Codenames Oslo. And we've done it because of two main reasons. The first one is that after doing customer interviews and after doing some customer research, we came to understand that people spend a lot of their time, a lot of their energy in creating content that's beautiful and expressive and reflecting who they are as a person. So we wanted to make sure that every piece of content within Codenames Oslo looked absolutely beautiful. So we didn't think that the traditional 10 blue links that you're used to from your search engine did any justice to the content you spend so much time in creating. But there's another problem with the traditional 10 blue links that you're probably used to. When I do when I perform a query, a lot of the times I do a generic query, like I type Codenames Oslo in the Enterprise Search Center. I get 10 blue links that sound and look very similar, and in order to find what I'm actually looking for, I have to inspect each link one by one, or hover on each link one by one to get additional information. Right within Oslo, you see that we sort of allow you to distinguish between different contents by sort of giving you a rich visual preview on this top area of the card, in addition to the title and sort of descriptive teaser that you're already used to. But we go a step further and we try and contextualize why that document is important or why it's showing up to you right now in Oslo. We show you the amount of recent views a particular document has acquired. But what's really magical about Oslo is really this bottom area, where it sort of tries to tell me what person that I care about engaged with the document last. So I get more of a context of why I should look into that document. But let's take a look at the app, because I want you guys to be able to check out the app, and because I'm actually running a demo account on the app, and hopefully a demo account that you guys will be able to use in the near future, get your hands on in the near future, to also share the magic of Oslo with other people. So this is actually Julia White's demo account. And we pretty much have all the same concepts that I talked about when it comes to the Oslo feed. But I should warn you that the app has had a little bit more development time than the web. So there are a few features that are in the app that aren't on the web yet, but the web is quickly catching up, and so everything you see here will be on the web in some form or the other. So let's see what a few differences we can spot. Well, for starters, we sort of see this sort of blue link, and what that is really the sort of the location of where that particular piece of content is being stored. So in case you have those two documents that sort of have similar names, in case you have different versions of sort of the same document, you can differentiate between them with this additional piece of context, which is where that thing is being stored. So this first one is being stored in the marketing campaigns team site, whereas the second one is being stored in Julia White's OneDrive. So again, Oslo is sort of showing me all the documents that are trending around me, all the documents that I have that I might have a special interest in. But what's really cool about the app is that it also brings social gestures into the experience. So within Oslo, I can like a document or comment a document, and that comment shows up in Yammer. Comments that I do in Oslo show up in Yammer, and comments that are done in Yammer happen in Oslo. This happens to be a demo account, so there's not much data there. But what's really cool about this is that it allows me to understand all the social context behind a particular document. So I no longer have to go look for the social context. I can see all the conversations that are happening about that document right there within the experience. So I actually sort of skipped this, so maybe I should go back to this. When you open a particular document in Oslo on the web, we open in a new tab that document within the respective web access client. So you don't even have to leave your browser to look at the document. In the app, when we open the document, but we still keep Oslo as a sidebar over there, so you can continue your reading experience without being interrupted. We've really thought through the reading workflow so that you don't have to sort of be switching between applications. Oh, yeah, I'm not logged in. So you would see on the right the document appear in the web access client in immersive IE. So Oslo is the place. So your Oslo feed is a place you'll go to discover all information that you should be aware of. But where Oslo actually also shines is in allowing you to find the information you need when you need it. Maybe the information that's not yet surfaced in your Oslo feed, or that is from another person. So, and the way you can find that information is by using Oslo's instant search box. So right out of the box, you'll see that we sort of provide you with these sort of intuitive natural language suggestions. So you can express exactly what content you're looking for to your search engine. So you can look up content that's been shared with you, content that you recently modified, content that's trending around you, and content that you've liked. So let me dig into a few of these pivots so that you guys can actually understand how cool they are. So shared with me. So this is one that I particularly like because, as an engineer, we engineers love what we do. We absolutely do. And so, within my team, we're always sort of sharing articles about, things that are related to what we work on or things that we find really interesting. So we're sharing articles about, from TechCrunch, from Engadget, from Mashable, and a lot of the times I get emails that are super interesting from my manager, and just an email with a link to an article. And I'm a very busy person, so I usually don't have time to look at that now. So I'll make a mental note of it. I tell myself, George, you'll read this later, right? Just read this later. You don't have time for this now. But the minute that article goes beneath the fold of my inbox, I never find it again. Why? Because all I had was a subject header or a link that I can no longer remember. So I actually never end up reading that email because I can't find it. But now with Codename Oslo, everything that's shared with me, all the links that are shared with me, whether they come in the form of links in email or attachments or things like things that were shared to me on Yammer or SharePoint, everything that's shared with me is all in one view, so I can find it easily. Sorry for this, guys. I have to plug in my computer. Thank you. All right, so sorry about that, guys. My battery life wasn't that great to begin with. All right. Here's another view that I find extremely interesting, the modified by me view, where I can see all the documents that I've made modifications to recently. So no longer do I have to worry about what device I used to edit something, where it was stored, whether it's still in my Office MRU. Everything is there within one simple view. So, but what about if you want to get to something real quickly? What happens in those cases that you actually know what kind of keywords were contained within the document or what words were contained in the title? Well, you can actually use Oslo's instant filtering experience to find the content that you're looking for. So in this case, I'm looking for a particular document on Contoso. You saw that the search experience was instant. I can also even refine my query more and say that it was written by Julia, and it was on EETV. Oslo allows you to filter through the documents that you've interacted with recently instantly, so you can find what you need without a fret. But a lot of the times, the content you're looking for is not a content that you saw or that you interacted with recently. And so how do you find that? Well, it turns out that after some research, we figured out that people tend to associate content with people. I might not remember the title of a document, or I might not remember what the teaser or a few of the keywords from the document were, but I always remember who showed me a particular document, who shared a document with me, who sent that email, who was in the meeting with me when I saw that document. And so Oslo is a very people-centric experience. So say that I'm looking for a document from Julia's particular colleague, Christoph. All I have to do is look Christoph up. And you'll notice that after 2 characters, Oslo finds that person, from within the Active Directory. Why? Because it knows what people are close to Julia. It knows what people she's likely to look for in the future. So you have a very good people search experience. And when you look people up, we also give you these pivots on content around that person. So if you know that a particular document was modified by Christoph, you can simply go to this view and find it. Oslo is also really good at allowing you to contextualize people. So, if I'm going to go into a meeting with Christoph, and I don't know who Christoph is or what he does or what part he plays in the project that I'm currently working on, I can look him up and go to his Oslo person page. Actually, Christoph is not a great example. Let's go to Michelle. So right out of the box, I get contextual information on who Michelle is within the organization. Who's her manager? Who did she share a manager with? Who are her direct reports? I get to start conversations instantly from within Oslo. I can start a link conversation or send her an email. But what's really, really cool about Oslo is that it's keeping track of who we share a connection with. So I can really understand, where do we intersect? Within a person page, I also get a personalized feed, from that person. So I see here documents that she's recently modified, documents that she's really recently interacted with or shown an interest in, or documents that are trending around her team, so that I can use a particular person for a proxy of their team. So, I actually have an old manager that I used to work with in Redmond, and often I want to know what his team is working on. I can simply go to his page and know what his team is working on. I thought I'd share, a personal story with you guys about how Oslo recently actually saved my life. Well, it didn't actually save my life, but how it was extremely helpful to me recently. So about 1 month back, I was having a one-on-one with my manager, and my manager said, "George, your colleague Stefan, my Swedish colleague Stefan, is leaving on paternity leave at the end of this week. And I'd like you to drive his project forward while he's away." All right, sure, no problem. So it means I have to catch up on what he's doing in a week. So I try to get time with Stefan to meet with him and be able to understand what he was working on, what his project was all about. And unfortunately, Stefan is a very busy person like I am, and because he was leaving in about a week, everyone wanted to meet Stefan. So I actually couldn't get any one-on-one time with him because his calendar was always so packed. After a week, we got a little bit of time, but after a week, he was gone, and I was left abandoned. So what did I do? Well, I booted up Codename Oslo, and I looked up Stefan's person page. Right there, I saw all the documents that he had recently modified, interacted with. I got context on what the latest progress on the project was and what he had been working on. By seeing the people that he worked with, sort of like in Chem's a good example. Yeah, sorry, so this is a demo account, so I'm trying to predict who's going to have what data, and it's not working too well for me. Olaf. All right, so Oslo will also show you who that person is working with, but because I have intersections with everyone, that's being omitted right now. I'm sorry. But so Oslo will tell you who that person is working with. So I could see who Stefan had been working with, and I could sort of I could go to their person page and get context on what part they played in the project that I was now working on. And so every time I was going to have a meeting with one of these people, I would actually go to their person page, read the latest changes that were made to their document, And that meant that we had to do less time ramping up on the latest progress or the latest progress that we both had made, less time understanding the material, and more time in the important part of a meeting, which is the part where you sort of make decisions that drive a project forward. That is sort of the beauty of Oslo. So let's sort of summarize what we've seen. We've seen an experience built on top of the Office graph, where the Office graph is collecting a wide variety of signals from across Office 365, from across your traditional desktop Office clients, from your different social networks. And it's taking that information and delivering content that's personalized to you, so you can always discover the best content, find the best content within your enterprise. And so you can find any information that you might need at any time. And you can discover new connections, figure out who's going to help you get work done, and what part they play in the projects that you work on. So unfortunately, I was actually using a demo account, and I actually didn't think that I could dive deep into the web because I didn't want to disclose anything that I shouldn't. But believe me when I say, we have all these sort of entities already present within Oslo. So we have people as first-class citizens within the experience. We have people in the Office graph. The same applies for the Office graph. We have documents, we have sites, we have videos, we have social gestures like commenting and liking. But we're also working very hard to get other things into the experience, like groups or shared mailboxes. We're looking to get collections in, and we're working on getting sort of a hashtag experience in so you can curate content that you might be interested in. We're looking to get meetings and tasks so you can be even more productive. But we're also working on making sure that the Office graph is extensible enough so that you can get your own entities in, or you can get your customer entities in. So, you could see your CRM solution entities or your line of business solution entities. The opportunities with the Office graph really are endless. And so I do envision a future where you could see an application that services the most urgent support tickets that your customer has and that needs responding to now. Or that item in the product catalog that's selling like cupcake and that might need some stock replenishing right now. Or the most meaningful reviews of your different products and services that you might want to respond to or do something about. Again, the opportunities are endless with the Office graph. I also wanted to mention that we're working with Bing to sort of bridge the Office graph and Bing's own knowledge graph. You guys might have heard of Satori. Work is still in the early stages, but we're trying to make sure that no matter where you are, whether within the corporate firewall or outside of the corporate firewall, your knowledge management experience is amazing. So I've showed you some, I hope I've showed you some pretty impressive stuff. Also keeping track of the people I care about, also knowing exactly what documents I need to know about. And so it's a lot of intelligence. But the question I have right now is, how hard is it to extract information from this Office graph? How hard is it to get something complicated like the items that are interesting to me? Because at the end of the day, that's some pretty smart stuff. Well, it turns out that all you have to do is actually fire off one request that can fit on one line. And if you look very closely to that request, you'll sort of see that it's nothing else other than a sort of SharePoint Search API request. So it's built on the existing SharePoint Search API. And all you're doing is sort of defining a few extra properties, such as the property that tells the search front end to look at the graph, the Office graph. Also, you're defining what actor you care about. So in the case of, what are actors? They're sort of the entities that you want to know about. So it could be a person, it could be a document, it could be a group. And you're also sort of telling, what actions to look into. Actions are simply the relationships between these actors. So, we have a weird number there, the 1021. That's just our code for trending around or interesting to. Even something as complex and powerful as getting the items that are trending around me and another person from the sales side is nothing else other than, one request where you're defining a few more actors. So in this example, you're defining me as an actor, you're defining Dennis D as an actor, and a few extra relationships or setting a path to where you want to scope down the results from. So again, very simple to extract information, very simple to extract business intelligence, but so powerful. So we're coming close to an end. I hope you guys have enjoyed the session so far. And so this is a particular nervous part for me because I'm actually going to go a little off script here. And you know, I was sitting in my hotel room yesterday, and I was thinking about, you know, how could I inspire you guys to start thinking about a few of the solutions that we could build with the Office Graph, you know. And I was told that most of you guys were actually sales reps or salespeople working with sales and marketing. And I don't know a lot about sales and marketing, but I was thinking about, you know, how could I get them excited about the opportunities that we have to build on top of this sort of data layer and this, you know, universal object model. And so, you know, I went to my computer and I started sketching an application up in Photoshop just to get your juices going about the kind of stuff that we could build, something different, different to Oslo. And I got to warn you before I show you what I've done, because I actually really did this weekend. I'm no designer, so please don't expect a super polished design of an application. I just sketched something up. And I'm also not a salesperson, or I don't work in marketing. So if it's a little far-fetched, I hope you're understanding. But I just want to get you guys sort of inspired to start thinking about what kind of ideas we could be building on top of the Office Graph. So here's the application that I came up with. I hope you'll appreciate the flat design. So in this application, I'm the head of sales, head of the European sales division for a big company. And I actually have a lot of account managers that report to me. And the Office Graph, you know, out of the box, you know, after turning on a switch, knows exactly who these account managers are based on the conversations I have with the different people within my organization, based on the different documents that we collaborate on. It knows that each account manager is also supposed to take care of certain customers, and it knows what these customers are based on the documents they write up, the reports they write up, the contracts they write up. So it knows ultimately what my customers are, the customers that I sort of supervise and look over. But what's really cool is that it knows, for example, it can extract knowledge from the content that I have in public folders on, you know, when a contract's about to expire, or when a contract has been written, a new contract has been written by one of the account managers I supervise, and now I require some sort of action for my behalf because you know, it's reached that stage where the draft has been written and I need to sort of sign it off. I can do it right there from within the application. Again, this might be a little far-fetched, but I'm just trying to get you guys thinking about, you know, what could your customers build on top of the Office Graph? And you know, I'm always open to ideas. So you know, if you see me in one of these breaks, or if you know, let's have lunch together, and if you have any ideas, come talk to me about it. Come tell me what you've sort of thought of, and we can discuss how we could see it appear in the Office Graph. All right. Well, this is sort of it. Thank you for sitting through this with me. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about the Office Graph in Oslo. I will take questions. So I'll take a few questions now. Or before, during, or after this Q&A session, please follow us on Twitter. Follow us at Codename Oslo. Share your excitement about this technology. It's really cool stuff. Yeah. So thank you very much, guys.